Here we go.
Welcome, everybody, to the public session of tonight's Board of Education meeting. I have a motion to open the meeting, please. Michelle, in a second. From Bill. All in favor? Okay. May I have a motion to go into executive session to discuss contracts and other issues? May I have a motion? Tom. And a second from Michelle. All in favor? That's everybody. Except for Linda and Xavier, who are not here at the moment.
Okay, Mrs. Bernanke.
Okay, it didn't ask us again. That's right? Because we already said yes to the recording. It didn't come on the screen to continue the meeting. I just want to make sure that we're good.
It came online.
It didn't come. Oh, because I'm on a different screen. Wait, let me.
Came on mine, but I'm still muted.
I'm on a different.
Everybody should be muted.
Okay.
You can
I'm
start.
not on Zoom. You all see me? It says my meeting should start in a few seconds.
See you.
I see you.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Because I need to be on this screen. Is that okay?
That's fine.
Okay. That's good? Okay. Thank you. Sorry. Okay, so we've concluded our executive meeting and we can reconvene the public session. Could I have a motion to reconvene the public session? Tom, and a second from Michelle, all in favor? And I just want to note that we are all in attendance except Mr. Palacios could not be in attendance this evening. We stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I just reminded everybody, please speak clearly, slowly, and into the microphones. Thank you.
Got it. Okay, so we are mostly a Zoom meeting today, but we do have some people in attendance. So we will note the exits, no smoking, and everyone else is on Zoom, so we should be good with that. It is upon recommendation from the Superintendent of Schools that the Board of Education approve the minutes transcription from the meeting of the Huntington Union Free School District Board of Education dated July 29th, 2020. A motion?
Motion.
Kelly, and a second from Linda. All in favor? That's everybody. And it is upon recommendation from the Superintendent of Schools that the Board of Education approve the minutes and transcription from the meeting of the Board of Education dated August 3rd, 2020. A motion for that? Michelle, and a second from Linda. All in favor? That's everybody.
If you want to clarify why there are two links there, the first is just the meeting opening and motion to enter executive session. So it's a very short clip followed by the full public meeting.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Okay.
We have some FYIs, the budget appropriation reports for general school lunch and special aid funds, budget transfers and revenue status report. I can't move down for some reason. Any questions on those?
There will be a more significant volume of budget transfers this year, and that's to cover the costs of PPE. And to cover those costs, we've got to pull from a lot of small amounts from a lot of different places to make it add up. So that's why you may see the volume a little bit higher than normal.
So, right, so it'll be from a number of different lines and categories, I assume. Have there been changes to the rules about what can be done?
No, the only change is that we are permitted to use capital reserve funding without voter approval to cover qualified COVID-19 related equipment and supply expenses. The drawback there, and as positive as that may sound, is if you do use money from those reserve funds, you must pay it back within 5 years with interest. So it's not really a tremendous benefit. It's more of a cost. So if we can avoid it, we'd like to do that. We may get to the point where we have no choice, but right now we are trying to go in other directions. We did budget for some of this already, so we anticipated as much as we could have.
Okay, thank you. Okay, it is upon recommendation from the Superintendent of Schools that the Board of Education approve the July 2020 Treasurer's Report. Can I have a motion? Tom, and a second from Kelly. Any questions, comments? All in favor? That's everybody. Thank you. It is upon recommendation from the Superintendent of Schools that the Board of Education approve the attached warrants, which were certified for payment on August 5th, 2020 and August 20th, 2020. Can I have a motion? Michelle, and a second from Tom. All in favor? That's everybody. Okay, that brings us to board member communications and announcements. Anybody have anything? Nothing happening? Okay. Mr. Polanski?
Bear with me for one moment.
Yeah, take your time.
Okay, so first of all, just a reminder that this meeting falls under the exception or the amendment to open meetings law that allows us to conduct board business via a virtual format. We have chosen obviously to have the board members and cabinet members themselves here tonight, but this amendment expires, I believe, on September 4th. It may be extended again, but as of now, for the moment, this would be the last meeting for which we can do this. I mean, we've gone through a number of reopening meetings for the community, for staff, et cetera. I know that we are still working with as many folks to make them feel as comfortable as possible. And this is going to continue as we welcome staff back on Thursday, Friday, and next Tuesday. So we have 3 consecutive conference days, workday conference days upcoming. Just a couple of things that I did want to highlight. Unfortunately, we were given the 20% state aid withholding condition about a week and a half ago. So we are working with now aid that has been reduced. Right now, there does not seem to be any light at the end of that tunnel. The federal government may meet again. There may be additional congressional action on this, but right now we are still waiting for that help to translate into help from the state. So right now, continuing to press our federal legislators for assistance there. We need it. As mentioned, we're addressing expenses beyond what we could have imagined in terms of personal protective equipment and supplies. I mentioned the reserve use. It's not a very attractive option because of the interest involved and the short repayment period, and that's not what that funding was technically designated for, but it's there if we need it.
And we do have capital needs upcoming, I'm sure.
We have quite a bit, and it's not going to stop anytime soon, but hopefully at some point it will stop altogether. But right now we are still in the throes of it. There's also an injunction on the table right now in terms of some of the federal funding that would need to be shared, the CARES Act funding that would need to be shared, and that is also up in the air. So there's a lot of things that we cannot predict that we just have to roll with. There are mandates that we have no control over, and therein lies part of the problem. It's the uncertainty with everything else in the mix, all of the conditions that we have to address at the same time.
And as you pointed out before, you did anticipate the cuts and did prepare as best we could for them.
As best we could.
But not only were they higher than we anticipated they would be, but they applied to more categories than we anticipated they would.
At this point, it looks like that may be the case. So right now, we're still looking at things that we're going to have to shave a little bit further. We predicted enough where we've done everything we can to protect program and staff, and that was the goal at the outset.
Mm-hmm.
We have a new interim commissioner. Chancellor Betty Rosa is now interim commissioner Betty Rosa, and we're trying to just kind of gain a sense from some of the comments that she's been making about the direction of the state education department and about priorities. Obviously right now is to get our students back in good working order and to transition back into school in the appropriate manner. During each of the forums, obviously I spent a certain amount of time, a good deal of time at the beginning, trying to emphasize the importance of easing our students and staff back in, because we've had a tough 5.5, 6 months. And This is going to take some time, and first and foremost, let's get to know each other again and just get the school ball rolling in the right manner. And this is going to take some days at the beginning to kind of get back into the academic swing of things, and you know, we're going to hope that that's going to be a quick moving, but it may be a gradual process, and that's going to be our first and foremost priority. Let's see. Once again, I think we discussed this at the last meeting, but we had a very successful summer school extended year program. The kids at Woodhull were very happy throughout the summer, and it showed during the times that I was able to get in there, and we just hope that that is a precursor of the school year to follow. Also, just to thank the organizations who helped us with food drives throughout the summer. We had a PTA, Huntington Booster Club, DISPA just finished up last week, SEPTA, I'm missing somebody who went right to the beginning, ATH, thank you, they were the first to go, DISPA at the end of it, and then we had the Booster Club, PTA, and SEPTA in the middle. We did, I think I sent the board information on food service grant. We were, on a positive note, we were able to purchase a good amount of food service equipment for all of our buildings based on a grant that was very generous for us this year. So thank you to Dr. Acker, Gabby Correas, and the folks at Whitson's for helping us get that ball rolling. We also learned today, and I mentioned this to the board earlier, that the USDA has granted an extension of a waiver that will allow us to offer school meals at no cost for everyone until at least December 31st. So that was in place from March through August. Same conditions will apply now until the end of the calendar year. So that's a win for child nutrition for sure. We're still working on readying our facilities. There's a lot of things that are in place, a lot of things that are in progress. The board is scheduled to take a socially distanced walk on the evening of Tuesday, September 8th. So we're looking forward to showing you some of the things that we have done in preparation. This is going to look different than it has ever. The opening packages, I know the building principals have been very busy over the past couple of weeks. All the schedules are posted. The secondary schedules were posted on the 21st of August. The elementary class assignments were posted on Friday. And I know the mailings, which include a 2-ply cloth mask for everyone, have been mailed home, as have the transportation routing assignments. So please keep your eyes on the snail mail this week. And obviously you can always get into the portal and take a look at what's there.
Those are two separate mailings, the transportation and the...
Transportation is on its own, and then the building welcome packages. So if your child attends Flower Hill, for example, you'll get something from Ms. LaGuardia, and it will be all of the information that may be on the portal and then some, and also the 2-ply cloth mask that is designated for use on day one should you choose to do so. We are asking once again 2-ply cloth masks or surgical masks. If a child forgets a mask, we will have backups for them, but please help us to help you remember to send your child wearing a mask each day. The masks are non-negotiable. Okay. Kindergarten, I know the principals work very hard to get some very cute orientations together at each of the primary buildings. I know our UPK program is on its way to being set up as it has in the past. And we had a full week of administrative workshops in virtual, actually 2 days worth, but they consumed a lot of time last week. We did them virtually. So there's been a lot of planning and preparation that has gone into the start of the 2021 school year. Okay, transportation I have listed here, but I think we talked about that at length. You will get those letters. If you're eligible for transportation, those should be coming home very shortly. There's been a lot of back and forth about interscholastic athletics and positions being taken by the various sections on Long Island. At this point, we are waiting to see what happens after school opens. This is as a county body, interscholastic athletic body. There are a lot of questions in terms of what the state education department and the Department of Health guidance said initially anyway, and what the permissibility of running certain sports and the risk categories assigned to them. They don't seem to align. And there's also issues with transportation at this point. Transportation is not unlimited as it has been in the past. So there are a lot of things that are up in the air. We hope to get things rolling. It still remains to be seen as to exactly how this is going to play out. There have been some questions about driver education, and address those briefly. The latest mandate on that, or latest directive on that, we are able to now finish the program that had started and also conduct the programs that are forthcoming with lecture that we provide and with parent supervised driving.
A lecture that we provide virtually, right?
So we would provide virtually, and the driving would be provided under the supervision of a parent with instructions involved. That avoids the problem that we could face if we have children on top of each other or students on top of each other in a car, even with masks, but very close together with two in the back seat, one in the front seat, and the driver. There are many concerns about that, and that's why the new guidance was issued, and we will be working to finalize that. Mrs. McCarthy will communicate the details associated with that very shortly, but it looks like the way it will run is a virtual classroom lecture format. I think Mr. Marinello is going to be teaching that, and the driving will be supervised by parents, much as it would be in a learner's permit type capacity.
Do
So
we
that's
think that will open up more spots than we would normally have because it's just virtual, or no?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
Not necessarily. Okay, just a reminder, and I shared this with the board as well, the requirements related to immunizations have not changed, so there is a timeline there that they have to be completed, and this has nothing to do with whether you are fully virtual or you are on a hybrid schedule. So regardless of how you're situated, you are still required, we are required to tell you that you are required to have your child or children receive those immunizations according to the schedule set by New York State. That is not our decision to make, so that should be out there. Also, just on another positive note, competitive program, the Long Island Arts Alliance Scholar Artist Program. We have two students who will be honored. One is a scholar artist, and that's Juliet Marinello in the genre of dance, and Joanna Campos Morera. She earned an Award of Merit in the media arts. So we'd like to congratulate those two. Important to us, just so you all understand, to keep our arts programs alive and well throughout this ordeal. So that is our goal, and we will most certainly achieve it. So thank you for the time.
Thank you so much. And I know we've thanked you a million times, but especially for all those long 2.5-hour forums that answered so many people's questions over and over again. And I think it helped everybody. Oh, now you're on my screen.
Okay, just bear with me for a second.
Shall I introduce public commentary?
Yeah, you can start to
Okay.
introduce public commentary.
It's time for our first public commentary. So we're doing virtual hand raising. If you have a question, if you please would identify yourself as a member of our community, our district community, as a parent, a community member, or a faculty or staff member or student. The first public commentary is to address the items for discussion and action, which tonight are just our Board of Education goals. So if anyone has a question about that, please raise your hand sooner rather than later so we can make sure we get to you. If time allows, we can move on to other topics. You have 3 minutes to ask your question or make your comment. As usual, it's not a back and forth, but if a question can be quickly answered, we will try to do that.
So bear with me for 1 second. So what I'm looking for here are hands.
And then please, if you're called on, just make sure to identify yourself and your affiliation with the district first.
So if you go into the participant section of your Zoom screen, you should have an option to raise a hand. If you would like to issue a comment, please raise your hand.
Give it another 10 seconds. We don't see any hands yet.
Okay, there'll be another opportunity.
Yes, there will be another opportunity at the end of the meeting. Okay, so that brings us to our items for discussion and action, which are just an item for discussion, which is our board goals.
And the reason I logged out for a second is for some reason I had marked that below the line. It's no,
Oh,
I just had to uncheck the box. So let me open this up. Okay, is there anything you wanted to say in advance?
just that this is a draft of what Mr. Plansky's proposed markup of our board goals from last year. Obviously, they are quite different because this is quite a different year. Goals and priorities shift with times and what they are and circumstances. So I guess we could just go through them one by one and discuss them.
Just give you a sense of where my head was when we looked at these and made some adjustments here. So obviously 2021 is considerably different than 2019-20. Sitting here a year ago looking at goals was a much different process. So you'll see that the first two are specifically connected to the pandemic circumstances. Then we are looking at just some of the things that we have been addressing and looking to address further as a sign of the times. So you'll see that's where number 3 is in terms of cultural responsivity, responsiveness, transformative learning environments, etc. Goal number 4 has to do with technology, and obviously we are dealing with a different set of needs with respect to technology, particularly because we have a number of students who are learning either part-time or full-time in the remote environment. Number 5 is obviously an important goal no matter what the situation, and that's the school-home connection. And I'm not reading them to you specifically, but they are projected on the screen. Just move this out of the way here. Okay. Right, number 6 has to do with our hiring practices, which to a certain degree connect with goal number 3, but we are also, again, and we have been quite focused this summer on our hiring in terms of matching our hiring, connecting our staff with the demographic of our students. So a lot of work has been done in that respect as well. Number 7, obviously we're dealing with some very challenging fiscal circumstances, so looking at ways to maximize revenue, some of which is beyond our control, and manage our expenses during a fiscal downturn that may last beyond, it will likely last beyond 2020, 2021. This is probably going to carry forward for a couple of years. So, what can we do to maximize revenue, whatever extent that exists, control our expenses so that we do not have to do anything that compromises our academic program and our personnel who deliver that program and support that program. And that pretty much encompasses just about everyone in the district. So those are the things that I focused on here. And obviously there are some things that are not unimportant, but probably not as directly connected to the 2021 school year. And those are redlined below. So feedback welcome. This is not for approval tonight, but for discussion. And we can take it from here.
Okay. Does anybody want to start? Or I mean, do you want to do them one at a time? The proposed? I don't know.
One goal at a time?
Yeah, one goal at a time.
Sure. Makes sense.
Okay. So, I mean, I'll just start on the first one. The only thing that I would maybe suggest, you obviously have flexibility in there because that's vitally important. I just didn't know if we should be adding something in there on, it says formulate a school reopening plan procedures, something about checking back in on it.
Well, that's part of any goal.
Well, just because it
process.
says formulate a school. That was my only thing.
In other words, formulate and revise as warranted.
And monitor or whatever, yeah. And revise as well, yeah, however you want to put it, I don't.
Right.
I
My
kind
only
of
issue
thought-
with one was semantics too, because you've already formulated a plan, so.
I kind of thought the same as you when I read it the first time, Christine, but then when you look at it, the reopening plan really isn't just about September. It's through a transition to hopefully getting the kids back full time. So the reopening plan really is a much more comprehensive, and as such, I think does require constant checking in as it has been formulated now, because we've kind of got different, right? We are in phase 1 if we go to phase 2 and bringing more kids back. I think that is kind of inherent in the reopening plan. We tend to think of it as September, but it's not. It's a process that's going to take many months. This is the way I read it.
Maybe we could just say formulate a staged school reopening plan, like that it's in stages.
What I think we're missing there, and this is primarily because of the time that I made the statement.
Mhm.
The implementation of the plan is obviously the next step. So formulate and
Right.
implement.
Yeah,
the
that's
local
fine.
Because it's
plan.
been formulated.
Right.
I think what Bill's saying is true. When you hear reopening, you think September because the word is reopening, right? But this is year long.
Well, it's going to be as long as it needs to be, and
Likely,
that's
most
part
likely.
of. I think that's understood, but I think,
Yes.
like I said, when this was crafted,
Mhm.
not that the plan wasn't really done at that point, but that was the real focal point was to continue tweaking the plan until we got to the point where we were
Right.
comfortable with all aspects of it. And I don't know if there is at any point that any plan is going to be labeled as fully comfortable, but
Right.
implementation of the plan is the next step, that's for sure. And it's already begun. So I think adding that in, the concept of flexibility, this is not, it's a living and breathing thing.
Yeah.
It's not something that is required to remain static. That's one of the reasons that both the State Education Department and Department of Health allowed us to send them links as opposed to documents. And obviously any changes that we make, the community will be informed. And nothing major has been changed, just little tweaks here and there, some additions and modifications of the FAQ document, and just some small things that have changed just based on guidance that we have received after we started formulating this. That's the biggest challenge. We get new guidance on a daily basis. Happens last week, we just got additional guidance, for example, related to hand sanitizer on buses. Couldn't have it up until last week. Now it can be something that is used in a limited fashion. So this is going to happen consistently until this is not an issue anymore. And who knows when that will be.
Everybody good with that?
So that's enough. Formulate and implement.
I think
Just
that makes sense.
or semantic. Okay.
Yeah, you know me. Okay, so number 2.
Just in case people are having trouble seeing it, build capacity to address students' social emotional needs and learning loss resulting from the COVID-19 pandemic.
So this is a new written goal, but obviously always a more specific goal related to COVID of something
Correct.
that we've always
We're
held.
dealing with social
important.
emotional needs and different types of losses that would not be faced under traditional non-pandemic related circumstances. It's always important. It's always been built into the goals, but we're highlighting it, isolating it here because we've got some work to do. It's not just for students. It's for adults and children alike. Everybody's had their own experiences through this, and we need to be sensitive to all of it.
So building capacity could be programmatically, it could be by adding things into the curriculum, things on a daily basis. Just
Could be staff training and
could be
staff training.
Right.
One of the things that I've highlighted all along is we are blessed in Huntington with a student support staff that is ready to handle anything on a moment's notice. And things are going to come up, and they're going to be mobilized, and they're going to be put into action very quickly. But that's, it all falls into, these have to be the first things that we address upon students and staff returning.
As specific as the goal is, build capacity maybe is not so specific. Do we want to?
Kinda like that,
It's a
though.
goal.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah.
So then we'll want to leave it. Okay.
And that's an ongoing process, not that we don't have capacity to start.
Right,
I mean, I could have
Well,
said
building
further,
implies, it doesn't say establish, it says build.
right, right.
could say further build capacity.
I
because
think
there
build
is some
means further
capacity,
build,
but
it's the same.
We've got to keep going.
I think those are the same. Further build and build, I think, are the same. Anybody else? Okay. So the third one says further establish culturally responsive and transformative K-12 learning environments designed to meet the needs of individual learners within a diverse school community. So it really just changed the words explore and or establish to further establish, because this was a goal that we were not just beginning, but developing more.
It could say further explore as well, because ideas consistently surface, and we have to be ready to investigate when a good
I actually
opportunity
do like
presents
that. I
itself.
think further exploring is always good.
Yeah, it sounds better.
You want both words, the way it was before, right? It said, it used to say explore and or establish. Do you want it to say further explore and or establish, or?
You can do it that way.
Or further
part of-
explore
That makes
alone.
sense to me.
Fine.
Part of the exploration has been speaking with folks in the community and various interest groups that have given us some good ideas to pursue.
Mm.
we're having these conversations, obviously, at the same time that we are trying to put ourselves in a position to reopen schools safely. But we don't want the idea of addressing implicit bias, addressing cultural responsiveness, culturally responsive practices. We can't let this fall by the wayside. So this is going to be an ongoing focus, as it has been. But it probably needs to be taken to the next. It does need to be taken to the next level at this point.
Mm-hmm. All right. So number 4 says, upgrade enhanced technological infrastructure / hardware / applications to allow for high quality remote learning experiences and seamless transitions to remote learning, which replaced the part that talked about emphasizing technology as a tool. So this more specifically changes the goal, I think, to the situation we're in right now.
We have to be prepared at a moment's notice to flip the switch. And that is obviously something the governor has been focused on. It's something every school district needs to be focused on because we don't know what's going to happen in the next couple of weeks. This is not like March where we had to formulate this on the fly.
Right.
This is something that we need to be prepared to activate quickly. And I know one of the things that we are in the process of doing for a number of different reasons is increasing our bandwidth. We have certainly spent on this to make sure that any transition, whether it be hybrid, addressing the needs of hybrid learners or those in school as well as those in the remote setting, or flipping the switch and going to full remote, we just need to be prepared with our infrastructure as well as with our software and applications. And kudos
I think
to
because
the
we had
folks
this
around.
goal, because we had the original goal, is one of the reasons we're in the position that we're in now. To address it. Yes, Kelly.
Would we want to maybe add something about, at the very end, without compromising student and teacher communication or something like that? It sort of ties in the original goal, which is should not replace conversation and face-to-face interaction. I think it would be nice to sort of merge them. And I know that is a concern for a lot of parents as we're entering into more screen time.
Right.
Not having
To
it
preserve
replace.
as much of it as we can,
Exactly. Just a thought.
while preserving, maybe,
Yeah,
while preserving.
Interpersonal communication maybe,
Yeah.
or something like that.
Connection
while
or
still
student-teacher
still
connection.
prioritizing. Yeah.
We should try to talk one at a time because the transcription will never work.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's okay. What did you say? I said we should speak one at a time.
One of the things that, and I'm sorry, Mrs. Miranda, that she had suggested was to identify yourself before
Oh,
you
we
make a
forgot.
comment.
Oh, yeah.
Want us to do that? Say your name before you speak. Christine, say your name before you speak.
And that's for the transcript for those that are listening to us.
Linda, I agree with Kelly. Perhaps we could add something at the end about still prioritizing or still, prioritizing.
I actually like the word
personal
preserving.
Connections, preserving more than prioritizing, sure.
Tom. Tom.
Sorry.
Wouldn't we really be continuing to upgrade and enhance? Because the way it reads to me is that it sounds like we need to upgrade and enhance, that we
Right.
haven't been doing that.
Well, we've had to do a lot of upgrades and enhancements in the past 6 months, primarily because we faced a situation that was brand new. So it could be a further, if that does it. Because certainly by the time this goal was drafted, we were on our way. And just to go back to what Kelly and Linda are discussing, I don't know if that belongs here, if that's a separate goal. Because this specifically addresses infrastructure, hardware, software, applications, et cetera, to allow us to address the needs of the full range of environments. I think part of what they're talking about is addressing goal number 2.
Yes.
Part of it also may be in goal number, actually they're numbered off here, in goal number 6.
Christine, unless there is technology that enhances that mode of communication.
Kelly, or just the use of technology. Maybe we could find better ways to use the same technology we have if you wanted to keep it in that same goal. It would be more like evolving our current use of that technology. But I mean, I don't think it really matters too much which goal it goes in, just as long as there's some sort of verbiage there to address those concerns.
Okay.
With a
Moving on.
focus on maintaining
The,
relationships, interactivity.
Connections.
Between students and teachers or something. That was Kelly.
Teacher-student, student-student connections.
good point.
Community building.
Okay. I'm going to play with the wording, and I'm going to send you a new draft this week.
Okay. Then the next one doesn't have a number.
Yeah, the numbering, just because of the way it was tracked,
So this would, I
that
guess,
would really be number
be
5.
5. Okay. Build upon existing means of Christine, number 5. Build upon existing means of homeschool communication and collaboration in an effort to address family needs under the current pandemic conditions.
And this is partly addressed in our reopening plan. It's no secret that March hit, people are home. The manner in which that partnership manifests itself, that homeschool partnership, it changed. And that the efforts that our staff put in to make sure that there was that connection with every family as best as it could be maintained. I mean, that effort was truly there, and that has to continue, because this is going to be a challenge. And we do need to convey our expectations. We need to keep our kids and our families engaged and connected. And that requires ongoing communication through multiple means.
And Christine, and it also will be different because last year when we went remote, there already were relationships between the home and that year's teachers. So now we're starting from a different starting point this year. Anybody have anything on that?
Linda, I would maybe add and beyond, because if we're lucky, this pandemic will not last the duration of the year, but those connections should last beyond.
Okay, duly noted. Got it.
Okay, then next, which would be 6, Christine, is to provide, just says provide and augment relevant and engaging professional learning opportunities designed to support hybrid and remote instructional delivery and staff social/emotional health.
So that takes our professional learning goal and modifies it to fit the circumstances, or vice versa. Circumstances fit the goal. Understanding that we've got to take care of our students. We've also got to take care of our staff and make sure that their needs are met, because if they're not, then they can't service our children to the extent that they're capable. So this is, we've got to be a full service operation at this point.
Absolutely. Anybody?
Kelly, does this include resources as well, or just learning opportunities in terms of maybe social emotional health of the staff?
It's more professional development,
Okay.
training opportunities, et cetera.
Linda, I have a question again. Does it make sense to put student there with student and staff social and emotional health? Because the professional training for the teachers could also be for students' social and emotional health.
We have that.
Is that a separate goal?
Yeah.
Completely? Because this is professional development.
I see where she's going.
You see where I'm going
The
with it?
training can also be used to
Correct.
support their supporting.
Correct.
Mhm.
So their professional development could support their own social emotional health, but also help them support the students.
Mhm.
Right, but that also, Christine, but that could also fall under too, because that's building capacity for
Yes.
social emotional.
Yes, absolutely. You're right.
You can find overlap
Yeah.
anywhere you look.
That's why I just don't
like
think,
anything
I mean,
else.
I think you can
You're
put it
right.
or you cannot.
Yes.
I'm fine with it either way.
I did add that.
Okay.
Number 6 is kind of a carryover, but it's important, and we've made strides, and we need to continue those strides. So that's about hiring and retention practices.
The only thing I was thinking about with this goal was also focusing on, because sometimes it's difficult to find a person fitting this goal, that fits the position, that's the best candidate and all those things. I thought we could maybe in addition add something about candidates that are trained in or educated in cultural diversity, where, I don't know, you know what I'm saying? If someone isn't physically culturally diverse, maybe there's a second best if we, do you know what I'm trying to get at? I'm not really wording it correctly.
Or like a sensitivity to the particular situations that may arise.
Like a connection either through training or experience or something that makes them more able to relate to our diverse student body.
This is, I think it's more about who the students can relate to than who the staff can relate to. So I think it's, you know, this one has been, you know, you've got a couple of components to it, you know, to hire so that our staff reflects the district's culturally diverse population, and also focused on staff members that collectively help students to reach their academic and personal potential. So I think it's built into that second component there. Again, just like
Okay, yeah,
anything
that's
else,
more, yeah.
you know, if you have that connection, and you're right, it doesn't necessarily have to be a specific aspect of one person to another person, but there has to be that connection. And we get a head start when our staff and our population, our demographics are in alignment.
Right, as a start. Yeah, I've been doing a lot of reading, so I'm just trying to put my words into action. But yeah, I'm just thinking that you could have a person who looks culturally like somebody else who actually can't relate to that person.
Like anything else.
Right. So
But that's where
the second part is important. That's what you're saying. The second part.
that's where a sound hiring practice comes in. And do understand that this has been an interesting summer. There are districts who are not hiring at all. We have had to hire in some places, and I think we've done. We brought on some great people. I'm excited to bring them on board, but I will tell you that there are still certain certification areas that are hard to fill. And I will tell you that in the past couple of weeks, as has happened every summer, we had some candidates that fit exactly what we were looking for in, for example, leave replacement capacity, that secured themselves probationary positions in the last week. So I still have 5 interviews left to conduct. It's not because we got a late start. It's not because we dragged our feet. It's because we had people, and, you know, the expectation is, you know, I understand if we offer you a leave replacement and you find yourself a tenure track position,
Sure.
I can't blame them. So that's where we are. So really no different than any other summer in that respect, but we've had some good successes.
Yeah. My suggestion was only based on just the motivation to say that if that candidate's not there, I wouldn't just want to say, well, then we're forgetting about it. Like there could be another, I was just saying we need to
We
make
want
sure
the whole
that,
package,
yeah.
is what it comes down to.
Yeah.
And I think the second part of that covers it.
Yeah, okay.
I think the whole thing covers it, really. We want the best people for this school district is what we're looking for.
Exactly. Okay. So
That's
we're
actually number
on
8.
the one
The
that
last
says
one is
7, right?
purely financial.
Seeks ways to maximize revenue and manage expenses during a fiscal downturn in a manner that allows for purchase of needed equipment and PPE, as well as maintenance of staffing and programs.
The only thing that's not in there is just consideration of, even beyond the PPE and equipment, and let's say this does end at some point this year, the fiscal challenges are not going to disappear that quickly. You know, there are still,
Right.
every level of government has financial problems right now. So I don't anticipate that for example, our 21-22 budget planning process, it's going to, I do anticipate it'll be even more challenging than 2021. So considering the downturn as a multi-year phenomenon would be the right way to go at this point.
When we talk about maximize revenue, we're talking about grants and other, what?
Buying food service equipment, using every little bit counts. So starting to do a little bit, it's tough because, you know, we're not a top-heavy organization. We look for grant opportunities all the time, but things are extraordinarily busy. And I understand that it might not be the first priority when you have groups of kids who need to be serviced. But we're going to have to make some time for this because there are things we won't be able to do unless we can find ways to fund them. And that's not talking about cutting program. It's just, you know, we've gotten used to having opportunities available that may not present themselves if we can't pay for them. And just looking at this, like I said, as a multi-year issue, this is not going to be a pretty process for the next couple of years. You know, at least I'm anticipating at least the next two until our state and our localities can get back on their feet. The federal government as well, for that matter.
Does anybody have any comments on that goal? Well, that wasn't too bad. Anybody have any goals that aren't listed that they think need to be talked
Look
about?
at what I redlined too, if there's any questions there.
I mean, those goals, like you said, not that they're not goals, but but they've been established. The policies, not policies, but
Well, I mean, the transition to new standards, it's redline, still happening, but I think Bill pointed this out last year that let's focus on the things that are really and truly are new focal points for 2021. That's still happening. I don't think we need to highlight that again. We're not ignoring safety and security needs, but we have our processes in place, and that's not going to take a back burner, but there's you know, more continuation than add on there. And not to minimize wellness practices and initiatives, but and there has been a great deal of consideration for the district's food service program, but it's hard for me to look at that goal and know that we have prepackaged meals going out.
Right.
So just trying to prioritize and not say any of these things that are crosshatched are not important, but let's try and prioritize as best we can.
okay. So we'll put this,
Also trying
revise
to
them.
avoid 15 goals because I think it's a
It's too
little
many.
overzealous under the circumstances.
Yeah, we have to focus. So you're going to revise and we'll look at it next meeting? Okay. Okay, so that brings us to curriculum and instruction. Ms. McCoy.
All right. It is upon recommendation from the Superintendent of Schools that the Board of Education approve CSE, CPSE submissions as delineated.
Can I have a motion to approve? That was Tom and Michelle. All in favor? Sorry. That was everybody.
It is upon recommendation from the Superintendent of Schools that the Board of Education adopt the attached response to intervention, academic intervention service plan for the 2020-2021 school year.
Okay, so we're going to get a motion in a second, and then we can have questions.
Motion.
Bill and Kelly. Who has questions, comments? Did you want to talk about it?
The only, the major revision to this plan is that normally our 3rd through 8th grade assessments, those scores are included as part of the process for identifying students. Due to the fact that students didn't take those assessments last year, we will not be including that for this year as far as identifying students for AIS services.
Has there been talk about assessments at all in your circles?
The 3 through 8 assessments, as of right now, they are scheduled as well as the Regents exams, but that is TBD. We are going to continue using Ames Web in grades K through 8 to ensure that we have benchmark assessments that are norm referenced so that we can identify students who are in need of further support, as well as classroom assessments and other benchmark assessments.
Right. Ames Web is both for reading and for math.
Yes.
Okay, any questions?
Stay tuned on that because that'll be an ongoing, as the year progresses, it will be more focus on what is or is not happening with state assessments as well as APPR.
And with Ms. Rosa, you think that changes anything? She's kind of a performer, right?
Well, she definitely believes in multiple measures and that a student should not be judged on a test alone. Like that's well documented.
Yeah. Okay.
I have a statement, no, or question really. So we're dropping the state assessments. Give me your description of the relative value that you place on the state assessments compared to the other local assessments that you do in assessing a student's need for intervention, right? Because it's my opinion that I think that the Ames Web and those kind of more local measures are much more important than state tests, which is kind of out there, but it is a common benchmark, if nothing else. I want to just hear your opinion on, does the process really suffer at all from dropping those or not?
I think anytime you lose a piece of data, you suffer a little bit because when you have multiple points of data, you're able to get a better picture of the whole child. So if a child got a 3 on the state assessment, but is scoring very poorly on Ames Web, then that just tells you to look a bit further. If we see a child that's getting, doing well on Ames Web, that's a piece of information, but it's a very small piece of information. So that's why we want to look at classroom assessments and other benchmarks, guided reading levels and things like that. So did we weigh heavily on the state assessment? We looked at the cut scores because that's what the state provided us so that we would have to make determinations based on performance. The state does level the playing field, so you see how students are comparing with one another as well with those assessments. So I think anytime you lose a piece of data, you just, you're losing a piece of data, but I think we'll be okay with the multiple points that we do have.
To add one statement to that, it's the only state normed measure that we have. Ames Web is nationally normed. We have a lot of locally normed pieces. It's really the only measure in place that is New York State normed and fits exactly alongside the curricula that we are delivering in a number of areas. So as one data point, it makes sense. Beth mentioned to pull even one data point out. It's one less thing that we have to look at. So.
Okay, all in favor? That's everybody.
It is upon recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools that the Board of Education adopt the attached district professional development plan for 2020-2021.
Okay, can I have a motion?
Motion, Tom.
Tom, and a second from Linda. Do you want to talk about this?
So yeah, I'll just mention a couple of things. Due to the fact that we have some funds from the SIG grant this year, we are able to bring in some additional professional development. We did have someone come in last week by the name of Frank Frost, who did some exceptional PD on trauma-informed instruction, which is something that we had experienced during one of our professional development sessions last year with LICE as an admin group. So we were able to bring him in to provide PD for a good number of staff members, which was extremely well received. So we are trying to use any grant funding that we have, Title II grant, SIG funding, to support and augment the needs for this school year. So some of the things we will be focusing on, we'll continue to work with Tom Diener for technology integration to support teachers in small groups, virtually or one-to-one, for those that need additional support with hybrid and remote practices. We are planning on bringing in Natalie McGee, who will help us with our work on cultural proficiency and equity. PLC and Associates is a group that we're working with through the SIG grant that will help support instructional best practices with staff as well as leadership and enhancing any walkthrough tools we may want to use. And we also have a mentor training consultant that we use to help our mentors that are working with our new teachers to support our new teachers, especially during this time. So we're being as creative as possible with the resources that we have. We're looking forward to giving everyone as much support as we can this year in all the areas that are in need right now.
Thank you. Anybody have questions? Thank you so much for together these two documents, very detailed as always. Okay, so all in favor? Everybody? back to you.
Okay, so this evening I am asking the board for approval of personnel items on schedules 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, 9, 10, 11, 13, 16, 19, 20, and 22.
I have a motion.
Motion, Tom.
Doing my job now, good. A little less talking. And a second? Kelly? All in favor?
I have a load
Lot
of
of
announcements here,
announcements.
and I'm trying to look at our participant list at the same time to acknowledge those that have joined us. So I'm going to do my best. If I miss anybody, please forgive me in advance. All right, so
Maybe if you say somebody's name, they could raise their hands, then they could put them back down. That way you'd see that they were there. If you call
yeah,
out
well,
all the names.
I can. They're in alpha order, so I can find them.
Okay.
All right, so we have joining us in Huntington, or more formally, in the mathematics department at the secondary level, and I know she's on tonight, so welcome to Athlyn Barrett. Joining us in our E&L department, and this is at the elementary level, Lindsay Estevez. Joining us in the science department at the secondary level, Sarah Hall. And I know she's done some work with us in the student teaching capacity in the past. Sarah, I know I saw. Okay, there, oh, her name is. Welcome, Sarah. And Lindsay is on as well. I saw her on the participant list. Joining us in the social studies department, this is at the secondary level, Monica Marquez. Joining us at the secondary level in the science department, Mr. Marlo Romero. I believe I saw him on tonight. Welcome, Marlo. Joining us, E&L World Languages, Karina Sanchez. She's on, I think that's her. I think she's on tonight. And joining us, she's been with us for several years, has done a terrific job as a leave replacement in the reading department, now joining us in a probationary capacity, Lisa Sajarto. So welcome formally, Lisa, to a probationary position, well earned. All right, also in leave replacement capacity, we have joining us for a good solid period of time, a number of people, so let me just acknowledge them briefly. Elizabeth Brenner in the special education department. Clara Galeas Acosta at the high school teaching Spanish. Emily Esposito, elementary at Washington. Jean Gurgenti, special education at Jefferson. Jacqueline Rivas, special education at Washington. Sophia Ramalakis, she's been with us and also has done a great job. She'll be joining us in the E&L department. Right down the line here. Tiffany Vasallo, joining us in the math department. And Ian Western joining us, and that's at the high school. Ian Western joining us in the high school special education department. So we've done a lot of hiring this summer. A few more pieces to put in place, but we're thrilled to have this new crew with us. So welcome aboard, folks. It's been a busy summer. I'm going to flip over to Schedule 9. And I do want to acknowledge that I'm going to read off a list of names here. But it is our goal to acknowledge and to honor these people at a more formal ceremony once we can. Is that because I? It was on. And then you just go into your audio source. I think when you move the book, so it's roll here, where I'll hit your little arrow right there.
Mm-hmm. Please stand by.
Okay. How much was missed?
I think just the comment she made just now was the only thing that was missed. Because it was picking up your audio right here at that time, so I think we're gonna be fine. I just saw it switch when I was up there. All right, so I hope I acknowledged everybody that has recently joined us. I'm moving my book.
Move the book. There you go. All I did was thank the committee, all the committees that hired all the people.
You're killing me. Yes. Thank you, Brian. All right, and that allows me to flip to Schedule 9 to acknowledge a list of people who have been
granted tenure this evening, actually as of the beginning of the current school year. And as I mentioned, if this was cut out because I put my book on the mic jack, we would like to definitely acknowledge these people more formally at either an in-person ceremony, or if we have to do it virtually, we will. But this is just the beginning of our acknowledgement here, so I'm going to go right down the line. Congratulations to the following folks: Angela Allegretti in the area of speech, Daniela Aquino, foreign language, world languages, Matthew Bolello, earth science, Janet Blitz, elementary, Maria Canonica in the area of social work, Janine Karras, librarian, Colleen Fasciano, teaching assistant, Katie Calco, elementary, Allison Logan, guidance counselor, Jasmina Nakevska, school psychologist, Alona Regan, mathematics, Jessica Rizalvato, elementary, she is our search teacher, Omar Santiago, technology, Jordan Schessler, mathematics, Michelle Vianney, world languages, and Carrie Winberry, special education. So congratulations to these folks. More to follow. Okay, thank you.
Okay, all set. And we move to Dr. Acker.
Okay, it's upon recommendation from the Superintendent of Schools that the Board of Education approve items I, J 2 through 6, K through M.
Well done.
Nice job. Can I have a motion?
Motion.
We have Bill, and we have a second from Tom. Any questions? All in favor? Michelle?
Oh, sorry.
Yes? Yeah, everybody. That was everybody.
Okay, it's upon recommendation from the Superintendent of Schools that the Board of Education approve item J1 on this evening's business agenda.
I have a motion from Tom and a second from Michelle. And you want to describe what?
Yeah, so I have it up on the screen here. This is an agreement that would allow the school district to opt into the Suffolk County School Bus Stop Arm Enforcement Program. There's a lot of, no pun intended, moving pieces here. This is an initiative at the county level. They would work with contracted service providers or districts that have their own transportation fleets to put stop arm cameras on school buses so that motorists who pass a stopped school bus would be photographed and fined. Like I said, it's a county initiative. We are requesting support for the initiative. There is no revenue for the district. There is no cost to the district. There is no revenue to the district, and all the negotiating, again, with our contracted service provider would be done by the county. It is definitely something that has been problematic in recent years in terms of cars and other vehicles passing stop school buses. I've seen it myself. This is also going to generate revenue for Suffolk County.
Okay. No, Bill, you had something?
I
you
do
wanted to
have
discuss?
comments, yes. So I saw this and it seems to me that this looks like a revenue solution looking for a problem, just like our red light cameras. Seemed like a good idea till everyone got hit with a red light camera or your child. Again, I think that this is a kind of a surreptitious way for the county to try to increase its revenue and kind of put it off on the school districts as one of its means of doing so. And I just don't like the way they do that. And so that's why when I saw this, I'm like, no, I really don't like, I don't see it as a big problem. If it were a real problem, this would have come up prior to them having the technology to implement and enforce, catch these people, be able to track them and be able to find them. But because now it's all in place, all of a sudden it's a problem that needs to be solved. We've been putting kids on school buses on the roads for many, many, many years. Hasn't really been a huge thing. Now the county needs money. It's a thing. I say, I don't want to be part of it. That's my own personal opinion.
I hear your objections. I'm wondering if the going by the stopped buses isn't a problem. I mean, we luckily haven't had a problem with kids being injured because of it. Is that what you mean? Or you don't think that people are going by the stop buses?
I am saying that you'd never have 100% of people doing the right thing all the time with anything. Do I think that our children are inherently at unnecessary risk and danger the way that we are doing it now? I think the answer there is no. If the answer were yes, then I think we have a problem that needs to be solved. But I also believe that if it were inherently unsafe for them, that this would have come up well prior to the ability to collect revenue on the situation.
Can you tell us like how we've been asked to do this and what?
All right, well, I will tell you that it has been, this is not a new conversation. This has been in the works for some time, and it was interrupted certainly by what we started on March 13th. So the pandemic got in the way here. This has been a topic of discussion and negotiation between the county, and a lot of this did involve the Suffolk County Superintendent's Association Executive Board, so I have been part of these conversations. Is it a widespread, rampant problem? I can't say that. Have I seen it happen in our district? Yes, I have. And my concern is primarily in places where there's more traffic. This will discourage passing school buses because obviously there's a cost involved. There is definitely revenue here on the table for the county. And honestly, county is a level of government that in some ways supports districts in terms of well, a number of different things that we get from the county. I don't know if that's necessarily their first goal, but I also don't know if that's a bad thing. So as an organization, this is something that we support.
I mean, I know I've definitely seen it a lot. Did I think when I saw it that my child was in danger? No, because they go in from the same side of the bus. They don't cross the street. I'm always there, whatever. I know that some people, and somebody might want to discuss this, feel it's a constitutional issue to have tickets issued by a camera and not by an officer. So there's that. But I don't know that that's our argument to make. We're just talking about a camera. We're not talking about we're deciding to enforce it. We're not making up the law. We're just saying they can put a camera. So it's a little bit of a technicality, but anybody else?
Linda, I'll just say as a teacher, longtime teacher, I'm driving to work and home from work when buses are on the road. And I do understand and respect what Bill's saying as someone who's received red light tickets. But I do feel like I see it way more than I should. And so I might support something that deters it. It could just be, I feel like I see it a lot because I've been doing that drive for many years.
It's not uncommon.
It's not
Does it cause
uncommon.
major
Unfortunately,
problems?
it's
No.
not uncommon. Right.
All it takes is that one tragedy,
Right.
and you know, I'd hate to say we could have stopped something, and we didn't. So
I have a-
Children
I have
and
a
people just
question.
being
What-
impatient.
Oh, this is Michelle.
Michelle,
How does this, what are the mechanics with, because we outsource our transportation, so we don't have our own, so
one of the questions I asked was, how does this happen when you have in general, a contracted service provider in charge of your servicing your transportation needs? And the answer I got over and over again was that we will do any negotiating and working with, they have a company that will be doing this, and they will be liaising between the company and the stop arm camera company and the contracted service providers that serve Suffolk County school districts. So really, you know, from everything I have seen, heard, and participated in, this is it's not a lift at all on the district. There's no gain, there's no loss. It's just looking at it from a safety perspective. If this is the angle you're going to look at it through, the lens you're going to look at it through, it could deter. If you know you're going to get hit with a ticket, fine.
So we're really just, sorry, Christine, we're really just saying that they can ask Huntington Coach to do this.
That buses that our district uses can have these cameras
Can
on.
have these
We don't
cameras.
opt in, they can't do this.
Right, but technically Huntington Coach could still say they don't want to do it.
Honestly,
We don't
that
know.
dynamic would
Right,
not involve
it's
us.
beyond us, right.
say
And from what I understood, and I have not had this conversation with our service provider, but they they indicated that they had companies that work in Suffolk County, meaning the county.
I've seen, like Christine and Linda, I've seen people drive past the stop sign when a bus is stopped many times. As a matter of fact, right before school closed, right out here, there were 2 buses with their stop signs and cars were buzzing by them as I was stopped behind them. So from a safety perspective, I support it.
One other thing I would note is that a lot of our schools are on busy roads where cars happen to fly, Oakwood, Pulaski, and I know there has been a lot of discussion from parents who have seen the same route. They've seen that on their route multiple times. And I think if you wait until it is a problem, then we're going to be kicking ourselves saying, why didn't we take this opportunity when we had it? Especially if it's not going to cost us anything. I don't see why we wouldn't do it. And I've gotten the red light tickets as well, and watched the video, and sure enough, there I am. But when kid
We
safety
did not know
is, I probably shouldn't have said that.
Scofflaw.
But when kid safety is at stake, I don't think there's too much to lose in this situation.
Yeah, Tom, I would have to say that on the safety side, you need it. I completely understand Bill's perspective on the money grab side, but the reality is that, how else do you stop people from doing what they're doing at risk of somebody getting hurt? And you know what? If you go around a school bus, you're going to get a fine for doing it. And a police officer can't be there, 100% of the time looking for people going around school buses as well. I think people are a lot more reckless these days driving, just my opinion, maybe because I'm old, but the reality is I see a lot of that as well. And, my number one concern as a board trustee is the children that go to this district and their safety, and of course their education. But, safety always comes first no matter what you do. So I would not oppose something like this.
We situate our bus stops so that kids don't have to cross roads at all, no less busy roads. I think and we're not talking about red light cameras tonight, but one of the arguments there is that could actually cause a traffic accident if you see that flip from yellow to red and you stop short, et cetera. Here we're trying to protect kids exiting and entering school buses as well as the kids on those buses. So it takes on a little bit of a different context. There are children involved routinely.
And he's not listening tonight, but my husband won't go outside and scream at the young drivers who go past the school bus by accident anymore. Anybody else have anything further? Then, all in favor? None opposed? Got that, Joanne? That was
Just one.
5 in favor, and was that being Bill? Okay. So that brings us to our second public commentary. Same rules apply, except you can speak on any subject you like. Please raise your electronic hand at this time.
Okay, I see one of our new folks here. I don't know if that was done when we introduced her, but I'm going to unmute her and put her on the spot anyway.
Oh, no.
Ethelyn, are you ready to be unmuted? And you can't say no, so I'm going to do that. Okay, Ethelyn,
It was
you're
from
unmuted.
before, but thank you very much,
You
Ethelyn
got to-
Barrett.
Hold on. Okay, start again, Ethelyn.
Ethelyn Barrett, newly appointed probationary math secondary teacher.
Welcome.
Thank you very much for your welcome. I am honored to accept the position, and I look forward to a long tenure with Huntington Union Free School District, upholding the tradition of excellence. Thank you.
That was perfect. Thank you, Ethelyn. I did not put her up to that.
Wow. I look forward to seeing that
Yep.
smile around.
We are very happy to have you here. You need to know
Thank
that.
you.
All of you.
Anybody else?
No pressure.
Oh, there we go.
No, Lindsay, no pressure here, folks.
but feel free.
Everyone, my name is Lindsay Estevez. Thank you all so much for welcoming me into your district. I am so excited to uphold this position as an ENL teacher in the district, and I will do my very best to provide the best education for all my students. Thank you again.
We're thrilled
Welcome
to
and
have you, too.
congratulations.
Thank you.
You started a trend.
Hey, I like
Pressure's
it.
on.
They're gonna feel guilty if they
No
You
don't.
usually get to say hi after, so.
I mean it, no pressure,
That's right,
folks.
usually.
This is not easy. All right, Sarah, you should be unmuted.
Yes. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for the warm welcome. Literally from day one, student teaching at Huntington, I was telling the science department it was my goal to work there. I just loved the environment in the community, and this meeting, even virtual, still solidifies that for me. So I'm so excited to continue my time at Huntington and, you know, have a nice long career and really give everything that I possibly can to the district and my students.
Excellent.
Thrilled to have you.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Yay. Well, I'm glad we got to meet some.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, that is the drawback of this, that
Yeah.
you can't see those smiling faces in the audience.
And then usually after they come up and we shake hands and no more shaking hands.
You get to see the smiling faces. there,
Yeah.
so.
And we thank you guys. We do have, new teacher orientation is tomorrow morning, so they'll be with us bright and early.
Oh, better get to sleep.
And when I say we are very fortunate to have this, and please, guys, it's okay if you don't have to do this. I appreciate it from just a few of you, just to gain a sense of the great work that was done this summer. We've got a great crop of teachers and staff members coming in. So
Is it virtual, the teacher orientation?
actually, it is not. We have a plan tomorrow to socially distance.
good.
So we'll have them
But
on
no
site.
bus tour, right?
No bus tour.
We're
I believe
testing,
he's a little upset, but
we're testing out our barriers. We're
Nice.
6 feet apart. We're gonna
Nice.
do mask breaks. It's gonna be great. That's good.
We could give them a map and they could just drive around and do their own tour of the district themselves.
you know what? We can always do it when times are a little bit better, because that's something.
That's always a highlight, right?
Yeah, everyone loves the bus
Mr.
tour.
Levy was very upset that I canceled the bus tour. but I just told him we couldn't take the risks.
Really very.
Like a birthday parade.
Well, he's, you know, a tradition kind of guy.
And
so
honestly, we have a lot of fun with that, and he is an excellent tour guide.
Okay, is
Okay.
All right.
that it? Okay. So final comments by board members? Oh, Linda has something.
Yes, Linda, yes. I just want to wish all of the students and staff a great year. It's going to be one like no other, but I wish you the best of luck, and it's exciting in a way to be safe, be well, and enjoy.
Bill? I just wanted to also add a huge thank you to all of the administration that have been really working since, when did we finish? June 26th? June
Days flowing to
27th?
each other.
Something like
Before
that, towards putting this together. I know that a lot of people have put in a lot of time, and just want to let you know that it's all been very much appreciated. I know that in speaking to others, I feel like our community feels very well informed, which makes them much more comfortable with the whole situation. And I can say, you know, as someone who works with school districts all over the state and country, we are actually very well in the top tier of districts going into the school year, as far as really just having our act together, not just as a school, but as a community, knowing what's going on and being comfortable with it. And so I just wanted to say thank you to everybody that helped make that happen.
It's Christine, it's definitely something to be proud of for everyone that worked on it. But I also want to say that I've really never been prouder to be a part of this community, because I know that there are people that disagree with parts of the plan. There are people that wish more, wish less, whatever, have different opinions on just different aspects of things. But for the vast majority of the conversations that I've been a part of, there's been respect and real conversation happening. And I think that that's just something that's so important. And I hope that whatever comes in our district's future, that we can carry that forward and continue to have, you know, great conversations just to make things always better for the whole community. So
If there's we have to find some silver linings here. Just conducting those family and staff forums, we're now seeing that there are ways we can communicate and gather feedback in situations we probably would not have considered had this not happened. I pull it off the table in a heartbeat if I could, but we're dealing with a pandemic and we've got to communicate in different ways. And you know what? There are ways in which it's working. And once this situation improves, that doesn't mean we have to stop communicating in ways that allow us to reach the greatest number of people. And I appreciate the support of the community. I appreciate the support of our staff. You know, they've provided from all angles, community members, family members, students, and staff have provided feedback. You know, we can't address everything, but we're really trying to make this as comfortable a situation as possible for everybody who's returning, and even those who are choosing to stick to the virtual setting for as long a period as they do. So there's a lot of moving parts here and a lot of things that we need to consider, but we have high hopes that it's going to work out well. There are going to be things that we need to tweak. We ask for your patience, and we will address everything as promptly as we can. But I think I speak for all of us, wouldn't want to do this anywhere else.
Absolutely. Okay, anybody else? Then I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
That would be Tom, and a second from somebody. Kelly. All in favor? And that's everybody. Have a great night. Go home
Thank you,
safe.
folks, for joining us tonight, and we'll see our new staff members tomorrow morning.
Woo-hoo.